All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, this is a good view. I was trying to do something a little different, but it looks like I'm going to do this, I suppose. Um, this is in the WAME studio with the background. This is where I just sat for the radio show here at WAME for the Drive at 5. And I know some of you tuned in, and thank you for that because I was trying to communicate with you on Facebook back and forth. Um, But I see we got Tom and Rachel tuned in. Hopefully, got more people coming. Oh, Terry Quinn. Hey, y'all. I guess I'll go ahead and say if you don't know me, my name is David Hamm. I'm a 25-year NASCAR engine builder. Actually, retired 2 months ago. So now I do radio stuff here at WAME, and I've got a face for radio, I've been told. So, but anyway, I run my business at Hamscapes, landscaping equipment repair, and mow grass, and I work on equipment, cars, mowers, all that kind of stuff. And I was also a 7-year jackman for NASCAR and a 5-year dealership technician. So hopefully I can. And what's up, Beer Man? I see Scott Trevison's tuned in, Rachel Rodman. Hopefully I can get answer your questions stuff. I'm actually going to open it up at about after I go through the rundown and all that stuff of the race of what happened yesterday at Watkins Glen. What an exciting race. So after I go through some of that, then I'm going to open it up for some human aid. Yes. And Scott, I was going to mention that they're blowing the siren today, I guess, down in Dawsonville, Georgia, because guess who won the race? We'll get into that. So Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race, it was called the Go Bowling at the Glen, and it was run on August the 4th, 2019, which was yesterday, at the Watkins Glen International, also known as the Glen, and it's located in Watkins, New York. And I've been there many, many times, and I know the Beerman's been there many times also. It's a pretty cool place to go. It was like you're riding along this very pretty country. You go by this waterfall. I don't know if that was in Chemung. I just always remember thinking, I wonder if the Bodines were from this particular area. And then you go up a hill, and then there's a racetrack, and it was nice. You always pitted backwards. I actually have a video on Facebook that shows me back in the day as a jackman. That year it was 1997, and I was jackman for Nemechek, and we beat the 2 car out of the pits. So we came out of the pit. Joe came out of the pit, and then we came out right. Rusty Wallace came out right behind us. So that was pretty cool. Montour Falls, that's it, Scott. It's been a long time since I've been there, and I kind of forgot. I think the last time I was in Watkins Glen was in 2001. And I believe that was the year that was the last Busch race. At the time, it was the Busch Series, now Xfinity. And the last Busch race was run there. I don't remember if Nemechek won. It was somebody, I thought. So, but they ended up going back. As you could see Saturday, that we ended up running there again. As you can see, who was it? It was, all right. So anyway, we had Chase Elliott won the race. And so, yes, like I said, the sirens in Dawsonville are going off. He said gave a C- for his burnout because he ended up running out of gas. But he's 23 years old, and he's won at Watkins Glen. He won back to back, so that's pretty impressive. And he was racing hard because he was racing that 19 car, which finished right behind him, Martin Truex Jr. Then you had Denny Hamlin in third, Eric Jones in fourth, Ryan Blaney fifth, Matt DiBenedetto, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, and Kurt Busch rounding out the top 10. And I believe last time I was on the Sports Recap show, I picked Ryan Blaney to win the race. Or was that last Monday when we were in here? Me and Beerman were broadcasting live from WAME on the NASCAR live chat with Hamm and Beerman. And I believe I picked Ryan Blaney to win the race. So let's go over some lap by lap. And then pole sitter Chase Elliott puts the distance between he and teammate William Byron, and this is on the first lap. And then Kyle Busch was in third place. Of course, you know what happened on the second lap when Kyle Busch ended up spinning out, but he quickly regrouped, but he dropped back to 10th place. And so it looked like everybody did avoid him spinning out. So they did a good job of getting through there. But William Byron was on his outside, and it appeared that he didn't. It was kind of hard to tell by the camera angle, but it was like there was William Byron and Kyle Busch, and then there may have been a little bit of contact, but I don't think so. But Kyle Busch ended up spinning out. Anyway, he spun out, which there was a lot of people spinning out at Watkins Glen, there typically is. The problem is they're trying to make 3 wide, and there's only two grooves to run in going through the turns. So Ryan Blaney moves up to 24th. This is on lap number 4. Ryan Blaney moved up to 24th after starting last due to some changes made on the rear suspension area. So Ryan Blaney started in the back of the field, ended up finishing 5th. Like I said, that was an impressive run by him. And he typically does good on a road course. Like last year in Charlotte, he won at the Charlotte Roval. Of course, he was running 3rd when Jimmy Johnson and Truex ended up getting into each other. And then Ryan Blaney was there on the spot to capitalize. Eric Almirola, this is lap 8. Eric Almirola reports the shifter is about to break off, but they try to hang on it, and they fixed it under a caution. That's got to be pretty scary. You're out there trying to shift on a shifting track, and your shifter's falling off. No, not too good. All right, so lap number 11, Chase Elliott has a 4.5 second lead over Denny Hamlin halfway through stage 1. So the lap 20 stage 1 winner was Chase Elliott. I'd say you can pretty much say he dominated this race. Denny Hamlin second, Martin Truex 3rd, Kyle Busch 4th, and William Byron rounding out the top 5 in stage 1, lap 20. Then by lap 22, William Byron runs into the back of Kyle Busch during the stage break. After Busch got into the back of the 24, sending Byron into the grass. But, you all saw what happened there with Byron. He ran into the back of Kyle Busch so hard that it ended up damaging the front of his car. So it was kind of like that was his retaliation from what Kyle Busch spinning him on lap number 2. Or no, I'm sorry. That was Kyle Busch's retaliation for thinking that William Byron spun him on lap number 2. We'll get more into that stuff here in a little bit. But Kyle Busch is penalized for speeding off of pit road. That's lap 23, the very next lap. So it's kind of like karma hit him right there, I believe. He got penalized the very next lap for speeding off of pit road. So I didn't say the finishing order in the top 10 in the race. We had 3 Chevys, 4 Toyotas, and 3 Fords. So once again, it was pretty even finishing order. I've been sitting here going through all my paperwork I had the show this evening. I got my song list here, as you can see. I had played a bunch of good songs. Osborne Brothers, Rocky Top, Marty Stewart, Dwight Yoakam, Vince Gill, Vern Gosling, Tim Wilson, Terry Clark, Oak Ridge Boys. Coincidentally, today is Vern Gosling's birthday, Tim Wilson and Terry Clark. And Sheb Woolley, Waylon Jennings, Ricky Skaggs, Boxcar Willie, Junior Brown, and Johnny Cash. I played a bunch of good songs today on the Drive of 5 show here on WME 92.9. And thank them so much for letting me use the studio. They have a much better Wi-Fi. I guess y'all probably noticed how much clearer the view is here with using my camera. All right, so back to stage 2 begins. Kyle Larson leads. Kevin Harvick is second. Kyle Busch, lap 25. Kyle Busch and William Byron are trying to work their way back through the field. On lap 29, Chase Elliott takes the lead back from Kyle Larson after making his first pit stop. Lap 39, this is when it gets kind of exciting. Bubba Wallace spins out, hitting the tire barrier after being hit by Kyle Busch. So, you saw what happened there. He spins out. He damages the back of his car, the front of his car. You kind of might have thought it was a lot of cosmetic. Might have thought his day was over, but it didn't end there. All right, stage 2 ends. There's lots of, like I said earlier, there was a lot of 3 wide passing going on or trying to pass on 2 groove track. Stage 2 ends. Chase Elliott wins. Martin Truex finished second, just like the end of the race. Clint Bowyer, Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin rounding out top 5 in that stage. All right, so the final stage begins. Chase Elliott first and Martin Truex in second. Lap 61. This is another exciting thing that happened. Jimmy Johnson spins out in turn 5, and Johnson is not happy with Ryan Blaney. He's very upset over the radio. Of course, you heard what he was saying after the race, but left front noise under the right rear Jimmy. I don't know why I wrote that on there. That's my handwriting. almost like chicken scratch. Oh, that's what it was. He got his left front tire. Ryan Blaney basically had his left front tire under the back of Jimmy Johnson, and it looked like there may have been a little bit of contact. So either way, Jimmy Johnson was not happy about it. But I guarantee you, had they been on the other side of the in that turn, the same thing would have happened. But that we'll get into that when I talk about the Hamm's hanky thing. Hamm's hanky. All right, so Bubba Wallace spins out. This was probably the most exciting part of the race here, and that's what I saw everybody getting really excited about it. But whenever Bubba Wallace spun out Kyle Busch, and the crowd went crazy. I don't know if y'all heard that, but that was pretty awesome there when that happened. Because you know what, Bubba Wallace said, "I'm not taking it anymore," and I got some of his quotes, and some of them I can't really read on here. I'll just use certain acronyms. I'll use the beginning of the word. I won't say the whole thing, but so Bubba Wallace and Busch were beating and banging on the front stretch after the caution came out, and Wallace spun him. So it looked like this. I'll just simulate it once again. Here's Bubba, and here's Kyle, or is it the other? Yeah, but Kyle and Bubba, and they're doing this right here. Boom, 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 boom. And then Kyle gets around him because that Bubba got a little off the track. Kyle gets around him. He starts going into the turn. Bubba goes, "Not today." Takes him out. Perfect. I ain't hating on Kyle Busch, but I think sometimes Kyle Busch thinks, because I'm Kyle Busch, you're not going to wreck me, or I can do whatever I want to do. Guess what? You can't do that, especially not some of these drivers that ain't going to take it. But it's also good for the sport, because it makes it more exciting, makes more fans get excited over it, and it gets the media going, and people are more excited about NASCAR. All right, so lap 84, Truex is giving it everything for the 19 car, but the car, he couldn't handle it. He started wearing out his tires. Looked like he got up, he was just couldn't catch up with Chase Elliott. So Chase Elliott ends up winning, and Truex finished second. So that was pretty cool. But I want to say right quick, congratulations to Austin Cindric for winning the Xfinity race on Saturday. That was really exciting. I actually had Paul Rodriguez and Kit Rodriguez and Rachel Rodman came up to my shop, and we were out there watching the race. They were showing me some old pictures that Paul had taken at Pocono this year when he went, and I was sending he was showing me some. Those were the newer pictures. He actually forwarded those to me on Messenger, and so I sent them to the tuner of the 2 car and the 22 car. They said, "All right, tell me next time they come to the track, and I'm going to hook them up on and looking around. They're going to give them a tour of the garage and stuff." So that'll be pretty cool next time Paul and Kit go up there. And then it was good to have Rachel over. We sat out there and just watched the Xfinity race, and Austin Cindric ended up winning. And then we all went to dinner at Japanese. Oh, but Paul also showed me some old pictures of he had some of Sterling Marlin, and he had one of Ricky Rudd, and then I texted it to Ricky Rudd right away, and Ricky Rudd said, awesome memories, thanks. And it was when Ricky drove the Haviland. He drove the Haviland car, so that was pretty cool. Actually, you know what? Maybe I can just show you what that picture was. But either way, it was really cool. He had a bunch of old pictures that brought back a lot of memories from the days when I was going to the track. Which, yeah, I know, I'm getting old. That was a long time ago. Let's see here if I can find those. There we go. Here's the one of Ricky that he showed me. All right. That's a good picture of Ricky Rudd that Paul took. All right. And then some of Sterling that I haven't cropped them yet. But so if y'all haven't been to Pocono, Pocono is a really cool track. One of the things that's different about it is when you're in the pits. Yeah, very cool. So when you're in the pits at Pocono, you can actually walk around when you're a fan at Pocono, you can actually walk around in the pit area and talk to crew members and see everybody before the race. That was one of the reasons I really enjoyed going out to Pocono because I really like to interact with the fans, as I still do. Fans and friends. Yeah, so congratulations, Austin Cindric. That was a great win for him. He came in when I was working over at Roush Yates, and he came in the same time as Colt uh, Custer. Cole Custer came in. No, I'm sorry. They came in with shoot. I got to remember his name now. They came in together. They're teammates, or they were teammates at the time, or both Ford drivers. Chase Briscoe. Yeah, so Chase Briscoe, and I got their phone number, and I ended up getting Chase Briscoe. Actually, I had him on the phone, and I sat right here in this chair and talked to Chase over on the radio. There we go. That's a WAME showing there. All right. So some of the notes after the race, or during the race, or during that weekend, were that Joe Gibbs Racing still hasn't decided if they will re-sign Eric Jones. There are numerous rumors that he could be replaced by Christopher Bell or even Matt DiBenedetto, who's been doing really well. Matt moving from Levine Racing, and you see that seat filled by Jones or Bell. So that's yet to be seen. Roush Fenway has re-signed Ricky Stenhouse. Jimmy Johnson is now on an 80 race winless streak. I started to say 80 acres because I'm so used to dealing with this landscaping stuff here lately. Johnson's contract with Ally HMS is through 2020. He says he has a decision to make if he wants to continue. In his second year of 2003, Johnson finished second to Matt Kenseth. 3 years later, he won 5 consecutive championships, which I kind of get into that during the Hamm's Hanky a little bit. We'll talk more about Jimmy Johnson. So all cars passed inspection. Ryan Blaney's team found something in the rear suspension, so they started from the back, like I mentioned earlier, and then moved his way all the way up to 5th. And there's a memo from Edsel Ford, second, to all his Cup teams. He said, "I'll forgive you guys for today if you win at Michigan next week." And you know how the Fords run at Michigan. Fords are always, and I can say always, because every time we built engines for Michigan, we put everything we had into it, and that's where horsepower shows up, is that track. And that was always the backyard for Ford. And I would say we won that race. I don't know. I think Ford's probably won it more than anybody. Yeah, Scott, you were offshore about 8 miles, and you sent me some pictures, man. And I was like really, really wishing that I was down there. So one of these days, y'all, I might have to do the show from Scott's boat, but I'm going to tell him we got to stay out. You know, we got to stay near the dock whenever we're doing the show. Plus, I don't want to be getting seasick or anything. But maybe I can catch some fish that day and I can show them on our chat. But man, yeah, he sent me some pictures there. You know what? They were really cool. Why don't I just show you the pictures? What do you think, Scott? Here we go. Oh yeah, Paul had sent me these pictures of Kyle too. I actually was going to send them to Morgan or to Kyle because Kyle's a pretty busy man. But there's another picture that Paul took of Kyle. Kyle and all his teeth. The man still looks the same as he did back then. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. All right, so I was going to show you the pictures of Scott down there. That's something if I can get to him. Hold on 1 minute. Y'all go ahead and ask. Go ahead and ask me any questions if you have any. I'm going to get to it right here. Here we go. All right, here's a fish. All right, that was here's on Scott's boat. There we go. That's one of the kingfish. It's called a kingfish. I was asking if it was a barracuda or something because you can see all the teeth in this thing. Let me get to okay, there we go. Look at the teeth in this fish. It's the cars go by and you don't hear them for like 90 seconds before, and here they come again. It's just like, and you do a couple pit stops and the race is over. It's time to go home. So yeah, I don't mind that. And they used to have a pit area they called it Gilligan's Island because it was out. I never had to pit there in my 7 years, but it was across the way, and you always had to pit backwards over there. Like you had to do, just like at Watkins Glen, you have the backward pit stops. So if you were pitting at Gilligan's Island, you had to do the backward pit stops. But I remember being able to see them from the regular pit, the pit road, and that was at Sears Point, also known as Sonoma. So, all right, some of the stuff that happened at the race, we were talking earlier about the incident with Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace says he was paying him back for getting wrecked by the 18 earlier in the carousel on lap 39. Bubba spun out Kyle Busch on lap 62. And I thought that worked out perfect because, like I said, he was side by side with him. And next thing you know, Kyle Busch gets out in front. I don't know if he thought he was going to take off from Bubba or he was, but to me, I don't know. I might have wanted to stay beside him, but he, or get away from him. But he took off and Bubba caught him and just laid him out perfect. All right. So if you haven't seen that, you can go on YouTube and watch the replay. It was pretty cool. The crowd went crazy cheering for Bubba. And Bubba says, "I'm here to get respect. I don't care if it's Kyle Busch." And then he said, explicative him. Okay. Bubba Watts doesn't hold back on talking on Kyle Busch. "I'm going to get my respect on track, and I don't care who he is." So I don't know if there was any comments from Kyle Busch after the race. You know, maybe he's learned by now that he don't need to stick around and say things because he can't control what he's going to say. But, you know, I kind of would have liked to seen the camera be put in Kyle Busch, you know, and maybe NASCAR, maybe that's partly their fault because, you know, they always want to fine for saying something detrimental to the sport. But turns out there was no fines given out for any of the altercations going on at the race this weekend. But yeah, I think it was good for the crowd. They really enjoyed whenever that happened because you can hear them all light up. So, all right. So, and then Jimmy got into Ryan Blaney as well. As Jimmy said, he was going to beat Ryan's blank. So you feel in those words, which I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna get into that in the Hamm's hanky. So Jimmy Johnson was pretty upset with Ryan Blaney after their on-track run-in, after their talk here. Johnson and Blaney, I'm going to read that later because I wasn't real happy about his comment about Blaney. I wasn't happy about that at all. And I knew Jimmy years ago. I knew Jimmy when he first started out. He was a mutual friend, and I knew Jimmy's brother. I still know Jimmy's brother. I haven't talked to Jimmy in probably 15 years, I'd say. And anyway, Jimmy he would hang out with us, me and Blaze Alexander, Ricky Hendrick. We would all kind of have parties and stuff down on the lake together at Blaze's house. So Terry says, I read just before chat that Ryan said if Jim wanted to go at it, he would have. Yeah, I mean, I said I'm going to read the comment that Jimmy said about Ryan Blaney in a few minutes. But Rachel says, I read Kyle Busch said something like, "You saw what happened, and that was it after he left the golf cart." That's what it was. Yeah, I did hear about that, and that's all he said. Apparently, that's all he said was, "You saw what happened." I guess watch the replay, basically, is what he was saying. So I'm going to do the point standings, and I'll get into the cold beer, warm beer, as Beerman calls it, which was a good idea to come up with because that's you can either say winners and losers from the race. You know, the winners are being the cold beer, and the losers being the warm beer. So speaking of beers, none of our places are open. Well, some of them are open. Sky Mountain Coffee down here is open till 8 o'clock. But I'm going to show you the brewery across the street right quick. This is right out the window is the Red Buffalo. See that? You see the buffaloes across the street? That's a place called Red Buffalo. Really good place local here in Statesville. And one of my favorite places to go for beer. They have a lot of beer choices. And also something exciting is you saw my T-shirt, the Chillbillies, and you know I'm part of the WAME Chillbillies with me, Kudzu, and Hash. We're actually coming out with a Chillbillies beer on the 29th of August. So that's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have our own beer. But here's the studio, if you haven't seen it before. Here's where all the action happens right here on this mixing board. Billy Buck in the morning show. And then in the evening show, it was between me, Kudzu, and Hash. We have there's the wall, the Randy Marion sponsor. And there's my deer head. We call it QB Rack. Is the name of our deer. And we've actually used that on the front of my old 8-inch tractor during the parades that we're in here in Statesville. We'll be on the Christmas parade. Ooh, hold on 1 minute. We'll be on the Christmas parade again this year for the Statesville Christmas parade. So it's going to be a lot of fun. and then I'll be pulling the trailer, our float behind. We pull it behind my 1952 Ford 8N tractor. So we always have people walking by during the show and walking by the windows, which is really cool because we actually have a speaker right outside the studio. All right, so yeah, cute name for a deer. I guess you can figure out what, if you sort of change the pronunciation on it. Huge rack. All right. So in the point standings, after the Watkins Glen race, we have 4 Toyotas, 6 Fords, and 7 Chevys. That's is that at 16, or is it because we got a tie? I think that's 17. Yeah, that's 17. So we do have a tie, and guess where the tie is? And I've been saying it all along, but I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm just saying that. Excuse me, Ryan Newman was going to end up sneaking his way in because he's been Mr. Consistent, and Jimmy Johnson was going to sneak his way out because he's been Mr. Inconsistent. There you go. We got us one of our listeners in here, listeners in here watching. Mr. Jerry. What's up, Jerry? All right, so we have Kyle Busch leading the points. Joey Logano, so he lost the points lead. He's down 13 behind Kyle Busch, but he'll get it back. No fear. After Michigan, he'll get it right back. I believe so. All right, Scott, you back? Scott, you've already seen the studio. All right. Kevin Harvick's 3rd place in the points. Denny Hamlin 4th. Martin Truex 5th. Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Eric Jones. And then down to the bottom 4, we got Kyle Larson, Clint Bowyer, and like I said, Jimmy Johnson is tied for 16th with Ryan Newman. So what do y'all think is going to happen there? I think Ryan Newman's going to take it. Jimmy Johnson's going to be out because different reasons. It just ain't looking. Yeah. So Hamm, as you say, it's hotter than Haiti's here. Yes, 89, but it feels like 100. I'm melting. Yeah, it's very hot here. You can see people. Actually, it looks like there's some people in long sleeve shirts and a sweater thing, but they've probably been in one of our local establishments. So are there any, Rachel's asking a question, and then I'm going to answer this question, and then I'll get into the winter, the cold beer, warm beer. So Rachel says, are there any differences on the road course engine than on the oval engine that you can tell us? What I can tell you is there's different, there is some differences. Okay. And we can probably, I think this would be safe to say, you can imagine, well, first of all, there's going to be different gear rules, different gear ratios. So you kind of have to build the engine depending on what the gear ratio is. So you want to have more power coming off the corners versus going, Watkins Glen's got a pretty good straightaway, but you kind of have to balance it to where you have enough power coming, or torque is what you really need coming off the corners. So whenever you're, downshifting and you're coming off the corner, you have to have enough power to take off the corner. And we call that torque, all right, versus horsepower, which is top end. Horsepower is when you're on the big tracks and you're going down toward the end of the straightaway. You don't want the engine bogging down. You want to still be able to carry all these RPMs and to keep the RPMs up versus and then having to let off the gas. You don't want to have to let off the throttle going down the end of the straightaway in a big track. So yeah, there's differences in the engines between the short tracks or road courses. Short tracks, there's a lot of similarities there, and that's usually balanced different camshafts, different intakes, things like that. And that's pretty much wide for every team. They all kind of do that same thing. So that's not really top secret. That's one thing I would never give off any secrets from my fellow Ford. I want Ford to go on and win the championship. My Rail Shakes friends, Doug Yates and all them guys over there do a great job. I want to continue to see them do great because they're always in my heart. They're always part of me. So just because I left there doesn't mean I don't still love them all. All right, so Chase Elliott won both. This is the winner, the cold beer, meaning did a good job, gets a cold beer. Chase Elliott, he won both stages of the race, leading 80 of 90 laps. Like I said, he dominated. So he led the final 28 laps with Martin Truex pressuring him. At some points, Martin Truex was all over his tail, and he still ended up taking off and winning the race. So kept him behind him. So good job with Chase Elliott, and cold beer for Matt DiBenedetto, because once again he finished sixth place, and that was his fourth top 10 in the last 7 races, which is pretty impressive for Levine Racing. He says he is unsure where he will be next year and is fighting for his career. It kind of makes you wonder, why don't and I've seen this a lot in different drivers, and I've seen it in the past, where drivers are about to lose their deal, about to lose their sponsors, teams, whatever, and then they kind of start racing harder. I don't know. Sometimes I think that maybe drivers should be paid by their performance more than anything. And I think that would make the racing more exciting. Just my opinion. I'm not a driver, never have been, but I've been around enough of them to know what seems right to me. It seems like when they sign their 3-year contract for multi-million dollars, then they're like, well, I can kind of just lay back. And that's also where you can kind of tell the racers from the real racers, that the ones that are out there and they fight hard and they want to win. And that's something I will give to Kyle Busch. I'm not giving him a cold beer, but I'm saying that he does drive hard and he does want to win. I don't necessarily agree with the way he does it, or the whining and all that, but that's another story. Yeah, and I'm glad too that Martin Kleenex Jr. didn't beat Chase. So yeah, I agree with that, Paul. So yeah, Scott Travis says my cold beer goes to Chase Elliott. My warm beer goes to Kyle Busch. Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, warm beer to Kyle Busch. So I actually had him on my warm beer list too. Chad Canals, because he all but commanding. He pretty much did command William Byron to retaliate against Kyle Busch, telling Byron if he sees him come back around with you, Byron knocking the blank out of him, there will be a problem. Byron slammed into the back of Busch, and he suffered front end damage. But I was thinking that he said that. Well, he did. He said, I don't know. He did it because Chad Canals basically told him to. So, that's whatever. Not a big fan of Chad Canals, by the way. So Kyle Busch he gets the warm beer. So who he got into it with drivers William Byron and Bubba Wallace. The result was that instead of contending for the Busch's car to win, instead of contending to win, he ended up finishing 11th, which was actually still somewhat impressive, because I do believe he's a good racer, meaning he's a good driver. Not good, but just he's competitive. But I'm not pulling for him. I don't want him to win the championship. So I'm not a fan. Everybody's got their likes. Everybody likes who they do. If we liked all of them, if all the drivers were our favorites, it would be boring, So there's nothing against any of these guys. Personally, I just, Scott, the 18 brake check to 24. That's probably messed up the front end of the 24 nose, and the 24 was going after him. So, all right, there was also the warm beer goes to also to Austin Dillon, who finished 30th or worse in the quarter of the races. All right, can't get that. Somebody was calling me. Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, who finished 30th or worse in a quarter of the races. So yeah, Austin Dillon's not having a good year. So NASCAR doesn't, like I said earlier, there's no penalties to be levied against the drivers for, showing their personality, in my opinion, which is what NASCAR drivers need to do. And all right, so I'm gonna get on to the Hamm's Hanky segment. So I was gonna read you what Jimmy Johnson said about what he was saying about Ryan Blaney. He basically said, and I hate to even repeat this because I don't think it's really cool at all. He said he just drove through me in the carousel, and I tried to hear what he was saying, but his lips were quivering so bad when he came to speak. Whatever. I think you need a crying towel, Jimmy. Hate it for you, brother. But you know what? There's been so many times where you were dominant. You were kicking everybody's butt. You won 5 championships in a row. Ended up with a total of 7 championships. I remember so many people saying, I don't watch NASCAR anymore because, and I'm not blaming it on Jimmy Johnson as the reason why NASCAR lost a lot of fans, but in a way, he doesn't really have any room to be about this because he didn't win them championships by racing completely clean. So you know what? Give him a crown to Hamm's hanky for that. Uh, so we got. So yeah. So what are y'all's thoughts on that about the Jimmy Johnson thing and Jimmy Johnson's comment about Ryan Blaney? I'm pretty sure y'all not real happy about that either. I actually saw Ryan Blaney talking to him. I thought Ryan Blaney was keeping his cool because here's the deal: when you're confident in something, when you're out there racing, and Ryan Blaney was confident in his driving and what he was trying to do, and he ended up finishing 5th. He should be confident. He shouldn't be uh, upset because Jimmy Johnson's not happy. You know what? We don't have to. We're not out there to appease the other drivers. We're not out there to say, I'm going to move over and let Kyle Busch win. I'm going to move over and let Jimmy Johnson win. It don't work that way. So, all right. So here's some of the, Kyle Busch basically had no comment. I kind of went over all that stuff. And then Bubba said he flat out wrecked after having an issue with Kyle Busch. And Busch had an eventful day that included a run-in with William Byron, which team owner Rick Hendrick admitted he would have told Byron to do the same thing as Chad Knaus did. So pretty sure that the Knauses and Mr. Hendricks all stick together. So Paul says Jimmy should have watched the replay. Absolutely, I totally agree with that before saying anything. Yep. And then Rachel says I was surprised at Jimmy. He always seemed like the quiet winner, the opposite of Kyle Busch. Yet he showed none of that quiet respect to Ryan. And you know what? I'm not defending Jimmy at all, but I'm thinking the pressure is getting to him because I'm pretty sure him as a driver and him thinking about retiring after this season, I'm pretty sure that he wants to go out doing good. He wants to go out on top. I'm not saying he's retiring, but I do believe that rumor when I hear it that it's a good possibility he's going to retire. So of course he wants to go out, basically getting into the points, a chance to win the championship like he's done every year. I don't think he's missed a single one. Is it 17 years? He hasn't missed a playoff spot. So I'm pretty sure that's what he's probably has that on his mind because he is a driver. He's a racer. He's a competitor. And, but yeah, Terry Quinn says Jimmy needs to go to drive for JGR, Team Crybabies. Yes, I could see that too, all right. Tom, if you're still listening, watching in, I'm actually going to pick up that dozer tomorrow, and Scott, y'all both know about the D6 dozer that I'm getting that cat. Want to pick it up in the morning, so we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna have me a new toy to drive around. Okay, and then Jake McVia says I think Jimmy lost the argument, so he tried to make Blaney look bad. Yeah, you know what? That's totally true too. Because here's the deal: these drivers, they have their egos. They have their competitiveness, and you put competitiveness and egos together, yeah. And if they look bad themselves, if they wreck and they didn't win that argument, so to speak, they're going to do whatever they can to try to make themselves look better. That is very true there, Jake. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, he's had 7 championships, Paul, and I don't think that'll happen again. I don't think so either. All right, so I'm going to ask you a quiz question right quick. So this is basically the history of the Glen, and this is other drivers that have done back-to-back, just like Chase Elliott did. Drivers to win back-to-back Watkins Glen races were the first one. Who was the first one? He used to drive. He was a little guy. He listened to hip-hop racing in the race car. He drove for Ford for many, many years. He drove the Winn-Dixie number 60 in the Busch series that was dominated every time I went to Charlotte. Darlington, I think, too. I mean, yeah, he ran that car a lot. Yeah, there you go, Zach. Zach Ben says Mark Martin. Got it. And Paul Rodriguez. Okay, next. The next driver won it in 97. Okay, I didn't say when. Mark Martin won it in 93 and 95. Okay, that's not back-to-back. Oh, that's back-to-back, meaning when we used to race there twice a year, the same race. That must be what that is. Okay, yeah, Scott, we're getting to that. So the next driver, 97 and 99. Okay, this driver, he drove his first year driving in the Busch Series. He drove the one car for Bill Davis Racing, and it was I believe it was the Carolina Ford, if I'm not mistaken, or Baby Ruth. I think it was both, actually, for Bill Davis Racing, the one car in the Busch Series. So who was this driver? And I also used to see him dominating at Charlotte when he first started driving around 1990 or so. And okay, you would also think that the movie, okay, yes, Paul Rodriguez is Gordon. That's the correct answer. I was going to say you might, yeah, Jeff, you would think that the movie Days of Thunder was made for Jeff Gordon, but it basically came out the same year that Jeff was kind of just starting out. So a lot of the younger people might think that that movie was based off of Jeff Gordon, but it was actually based off Tim Richmond and Harry Hyde, Jake Elder, Suitcase Jake, whatever. Yeah, all that. Yeah, Harry Hyde was Suitcase Jake. Yeah. All right. So the next one was the one that Scott just guessed, and it was 2004, 2005. And speaking of this driver, he just got in trouble for punching. I ain't gonna talk a whole lot about it because it just happened, and he just got in trouble for driving. He's a team owner now. So 2004, 2005, he won there. No, Rachel, I never did meet Tim Richmond. I wish that I had, but I never did. My sister was a huge fan of him when he drove that Milwaukee number 27 car. Yeah, Tony Stewart, Paul. Kit met Tim. Wow, that's really cool. Tim, I really wish that Tim would have lived longer, and he ended up dying of AIDS, and and then he tried to come back, and then NASCAR wouldn't let him. He was kind of the black sheep of the family, so to speak, with NASCAR. NASCAR didn't seem to want him around at the time. I know there was a lot of politics. There was a lot of things going on there, but in the end, Tim was very outspoken. He took NASCAR to court to try to get him to let him back into the Daytona. The man he was eat up with talent, so that was really a shame with Tim Richmond. Oh yeah, Terry, it was Kenny Irwin's birthday today. Happy birthday to Kenny Irwin. He shared a birthday with the country music legends of Sammy Smith, Vern Gosdin, Tim Wilson, and Terry Clark, are some of the country music singers. Scott, you must be watching baseball. Home run Cubs. All right, there you go, Cubs. Jake M. McVeigh met Davey Allison at Pocono in 1987. Very cool, man. And we got a lot of Davey Allison fans on here. They're always tuning into this show for sure, as well as me. All right, and I still see Davey's family. Davey's cousin's married to Hut Strickland, so Pam Strickland. So we still see her, and I still see Bobby and Donnie. I see them over at Hut's. All right, so the next driver won in 2011 and 2012. And if I'm not mistaken, he was driving for Ford, and he was driving with a Roush Yates engine. So take a guess on who that was. And he wasn't from here. He wasn't from this continent that I'm in North America. So see if you can take a guess on who won. Oh my goodness, kid, you met Rob Moroso also. That is so awesome. Rob was actually killed down in Mooresville. There used to be a place called the Pink. Well, I don't know if it's called that. We knew it as the Pink Elephant on top of the building, but there's a curve right there on 150 that's known as Moroso's Curve. And back to the talk. Yes, Marcus Ambrose, Zach Benz, you're right, and Paul and Terry Quinn, y'all three got it right. But there was also the old barn that was in the Days of Thunder movie. Is still down there in Mooresville. Still, I took a picture of it last year. They always sell trees right around there every year, Christmas time. And there's an auto zone right there in the front yard of where that barn is. I hope it stays up. All right, the next one. So that was the answer to that was Marcus Ambrose, 2011, 2012. Like I said, I believe he was driving a Ford, at least for one of those. Okay, and the next one is, oh, this is pretty easy. The last one is, who is the last one that we haven't mentioned yet? We've been talking about him this whole show. That's right. Marcus Ambrose. G'day, mate. Aussie, Aussie. All right, so the last one, that's right, Terry. Terry knows my thing for the Chillbillies is the g'day, mate. So if you can see the back of my shirt, it's mine's there on the bottom. And so Kudzu and Hash. Kudzu's what's up, fellow rednecks. Well, here's the thing too. I'll show you this. Here's our banner inside the studio. G'day, mate. All right, and then Hash, you guys, has his sons on there at the moment. But my grandmother was from Australia, so she was from Australia, and she came over here after World War II with my dad, and so that's where I get my "G'day, mate" from. Well, actually, we are MC for different events here in Statesville, and we were MCing for a Scottish band, and they were we were introducing them as from Scotland, and I said, "Oh, g'day, mate." So they thought that was pretty funny, I guess. So it kind of stuck. And then I explained to them that I had Wallace clan in me too from Wallace, and they were like best friends with me after that. They were from Glasgow, Scotland, and their name is Albanock. Check them out on Facebook and such. Speaking of Facebooks, check out my NASCAR country page. We post a lot of stuff. We post a lot of NASCAR related stuff, obviously racing, anything related to NASCAR racing, and some pretty pictures and stuff. Terry Quinn does most of the posting on that page, but anytime you want to, yeah, I said Glasgow, Scotland. Chris Peterson. Yeah, that's where Albanock is from. Now I have made a mistake of saying Glasgow, England. So I said that on stage, and I paid for that ever since. That wasn't the right thing to say. All right, so Johnson and Newman now are tied in the points for 16th in the final playoff spot. Like I said, and that's to me that's pretty exciting because who wants Ryan Newman to get into the playoffs? And who wants Jimmy Johnson? I guarantee you. Oh, that's where you're from, Chris Patterson. So, Chris, have you heard of Albanock? It's Albanach, I believe is how you spell their name. And Glasgow, oh, they were from the Bay City Rollers. Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah, Zach, me too, Newman. And I'm probably saying it wrong. I just, if I say it the way that they were saying it, Glasgow, something like that. But I'll tell you what, they're I don't want to get, okay, I'll talk about them right quick. They have their lead drummer is Jamesy, and he just boom with the big old drum that he holds up, and he's bouncing around. There's sweat flying everywhere. His long hair, and then they have this didgeridoo that's like an Australian Aboriginal instrument, and it's about this long. It's a long tube, and they're blowing it, and it's got spit falling out the end, but it's made out of PVC pipe. So the guy showed me. I don't remember his name, but he's the guy that plays the didgeridoo. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. So I went to Home Depot, bought a bunch of PVC pipes, and a connector, a section of PVC pipes, and connectors, and I took my torch and I put hammeridgeridoo on there. So I made my own. And then they got the bagpipes, which of course the bagpipes are awesome. What else they have? And then they got a lady that plays a little drum, but I'll tell you what, when they come out on the stage during Balloon Fest and all, they are jam on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Debbie Bryan dated Rob Moroso back in 1990, October 1990. Yeah. So I know I'm friends with Debbie's brother, John Bryan, and so is Beer Man. We actually went to see him last week, and I got a job to do for John Bryan this week. Yeah, so Debbie was dating Rob Moroso. Then she ended up marrying Todd Parrott. All right. Yeah, so shout out to Matt DiBenedetto for finishing sixth in his top 10, his 4 top 10 in a year. Matt DiBenedetto. Yep. That's nice. All right, so the next race going on here, we're coming up to Michigan It's the Michigan Consumers Energy 400. I keep wanting to talk into the microphone there. So the race is the August Michigan race. Has been ran there since 1969. The inaugural event at Michigan was supposed to be run 600 miles, but was shortened due to inclement weather. Afterwards, the race was changed to 400 miles. I can't imagine 600 miles at Michigan. Holy moly. That would be a lot. All right, so the Consumer Energy is the 15th sponsor for this race. There's been 26 different drivers have won this race. Yeah, Rachel, I hope Brad can get his Michigan win also. Jake, you're asking Scott, did she ever marry? I wonder if you're talking about Debbie Bryan. She married Todd Parrott, but I'm assuming that's who he's asking about. David Pearson won the inaugural event. I could have had that as a quiz, but I don't know. That would have been a tough one. Well, I could do it this way. Who has the most wins with 5 wins at Michigan? And I'll give you some hints. All right, the first hint was too obvious. He drove for the Wood Brothers, the Purelator sponsored car. Oh, Debbie Bryan's married to Matt Yoakum. Did not know that. Okay. So, yeah, Roush Yates engines could do 600 miles at Michigan. I'd say so. If it didn't, we would be, dynoing them for 600 miles. Trust me, or they would be. All right. So, all right, this driver has the most wins at Michigan with 5. He drove for the Wood Brothers, and he drove on a limited schedule back in the 70s. But he won a lot of races, and he actually won percentage-wise for the amount of races that he was in, the amount of races that he won. His percentage is a little bit higher than Richard Petty, believe it or not. Richard Petty has 200 wins. Well, this guy has half that many, but he has a higher percentage of races to win, and it's not much on the. All right, nobody's getting it. All right, so he drove the 21 car. I hope I didn't say Purelator, or is that right? All right, the 21 car, Wood Brothers, and he was known as the Silver Fox in later years, of course. Yes, David Pearson. That is correct, Terry Quinn. All right, so here's another quiz question. Who has the most team wins with 7? And it is a Ford team. Ford team. Who has the most teams with Ford teams? And I'll tell you, one of their drivers right now is Ryan Newman. Sorry. All right, Ryan Newman is their driver that seems to be doing the best. Stenhouse is another one, and he's doing pretty good. Nope, it's not Yates. Yes, Roush. That is correct. Zach. Yep, and Jake. Yeah, I'm glad you guys tuned in. Y'all seem to be doing really well on this quiz. Hopefully you're enjoying it. What manufacturer has the most wins at Michigan? And I think that they're the ones the manufacturer that we're the most proud of. Seems to be most of us on this show. And any Chevrolet fans, any other manufacturer fans are welcome to join in. Yes, that's correct. Paul Ford. Who won the race last year? And it was a Ford. Yes, correct. Rachel Rodman. Who won? All right. All right, so the winner last year was a Ford car, and it was the 4 car. Or it's all lightning. I guess not. Okay. Beerman's favorite. Scott says Beerman's favorite bar tavern in Paulie's is Jackson, just down the road from Milling Oil Pumps. Oh yeah. There you go. All right. August 1994 was the year Ernie Irvan had his near fatal accident. he was given a 10% chance of surviving. And I remember that day very well. I was a huge Ernie Irvan fan. I was actually hanging out down in Myrtle Beach whenever I heard about his accident. And we were driving around, and I heard it on the radio, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. But Ernie survived. Ernie ended up coming and living in Mooresville. He was actually basically my neighbor. I'd go riding four-wheelers over on his property. He had a nice house. The house ended up catching on fire. I remember the day, all the smoke billowing up, and I took off my four-wheeler up there, and I saw the windows, glass shattering out into the pool area. He lost all of his trophies. He was on vacation with his family at the time, and but NASCAR ended up replacing all of his trophies for him, which I thought was a very cool move on NASCAR's part. But yeah, me and Ernie, I still keep in touch with him from time to time. Maybe I'll get him on this show one of these days. Who knows? So, anybody have any more questions? And remember to, if you want to keep in touch with me better, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at DHammIam. That's 2 M's, just like the name here, and on Instagram, DHammIam. And we also have a WAME Chillbillies on Instagram. I have NASCAR Country on Twitter. I have NASCAR Country on Facebook. And you can send us messages there, make comments, comment on this. If you got any questions, go on and comment after this video is off, and I'll get notifications on my phone. I can go right on there and answer the questions. See, I can go right on here where my notifications. So I've also got a Hamscapes page on YouTube where I do equipment repair. I work on cars. Go onto my Hamscapes page and subscribe if you would, and check out my. I've got a video of a '87 Monte Carlo that I've two-door that I replaced the engine in it. I did a 383 and a 700 R4 transmission. I put a 9-inch Ford rear end, redid all the brakes, all the suspension on it, and I've got some videos on there of that car. And so we'll see. All right, who is my pick for this weekend? I'm assuming you're asking me there, Beer Man. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski, just because I have a strong feeling the man is. I think he's on fire. I think he's Michigan. He loves Michigan. He's from Michigan. I think he's going to be a good track for him. I believe he's from. I asked him about that actually. I said Rochester. I'm pretty sure where he said, because I remember driving up around the Detroit area, and I remember seeing Rochester Road and all. So I talked to Brad about that before. So yeah, so we'll see how that goes. That's what I'm going with. Hey, Steve Baker, thanks for tuning in. Tuning in on the radio and on the Facebook Live. So I guess you're not having to work tonight. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this chat, and if you don't forget, hit that like button if you like it, and hopefully YouTube will see that and they'll say, hey, that's a pretty good chat. We need to put it out there for more people to see, and we can have more race fans, friends join in to the live Q&A with Hamm here and then occasionally Beer Man. And I'm actually going to have some more guests join in. I'm going to try to get some of the guys from some of the other teams to come in. I was talking to Rusty Adams about coming in sometime. And I think maybe having this location here will open it up to having some more people come in and join me on the Monday nights. So thanks everybody so much for tuning in. Scott, you be good down there. Maybe I'll come down and see you soon. Otherwise, you need to hurry back home. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night. Have a great rest of the week.